Thank you, Nikki. I'm Stephanie Anderson, and I am the National Chapter Liaison. Thank you for joining us today for our quarterly virtual board chapter training. We have some great information for you today. And remember, we are recording these sessions so you can review and revisit them, and they can be shared with your fellow board members and chapter membership. We will post the recording to the C.O.P.S national website at a later date once editing has been completed. The previous session from September 24 is currently available on the website. Our first speaker this afternoon is C.O.P.S National President Connie Moyer, who has a message to share with you. Connie?
Thanks, Steph, and thank you everybody for jumping on here in the middle of your day. And I have to laugh because I would normally say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening based upon where you're at, but I think you're either afternoon or mid-afternoon. So hello, everybody, and welcome to our board chapter training. It has been such a pleasure to represent each and every one of you. And as we go into the holiday season, for those of you who've had the opportunity to look at your Hope magazine, which was awesome, I encourage you to reach out. Not everyone has a family that they can share the holidays with. So as stated in the article, many times we just need to look for the good and find the helpers in our society. And sometimes you have to be the helper. So reach out and grab a hold of someone that you know may be shut in or doesn't have family, and they would love to spend the afternoon with you. Again, thank you so much for jumping on here. The National Board has been very busy with many of the details that will be discussed with you today. And as always, please know you are our boots on the ground and we rely on you 100%. Between the staff and the chapters, we are what makes this organization thrive. Thank you again, and happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Okay, I'm going to mute myself now. Let's see, where's that button? Mute.
Okay, here I am. All right. You push the buttons, sometimes it takes a delay for things to happen. So welcome everybody. I'm glad you're here for our board chapter training. I've got a little presentation I want to share you. I just kind of give you some updates on what we're doing in the office right now, so everybody's up to speed on everything. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, which is this, and hopefully it will all work. Okay, very good. Can you all see my screen? Okay, well, I can't hear you, but of
Yes.
course you're on chat. So, okay, very good. So while I'm doing this, if anybody has questions, you can certainly put it in the Q&A or in the chat, and the staff will relay that to me, since I'm looking at my presentation too, as you are, as we go through this. So this is our News from National section of the training, and as we're nearing the end of our 40th anniversary year, it has been so fun to celebrate 40 years of C.O.P.S with you. Gosh, I feel like we've been talking 40th anniversary all year at every different event we went to, but what a legacy C.O.P.S has in just providing support for so many years, and just to watch the growth and how much fun it's been to be just kind of look back at where we came from through this whole year. So what a treat it has been to be on this anniversary year as it comes to a close, and we look forward to year 41 coming forward. And okay, so I'm just going to give you a kind of rundown of what's been going on. We just finished our last retreats of the season. At Coworkers Retreat, we had 104 attendees, which was pretty high. It was a good number of attendees that came this year. Had a great retreat in Potosi, Missouri. As of today, we still fit in Potosi, Missouri for Coworkers. So we will be bringing Coworkers back to Potosi again for next year, since that space seems to still really work for that retreat. We've also had, since our last time we talked, we've hosted the Suicide Survivors Fall Retreat, where we had 17 attendees attend. This retreat was for the group. This was the parents, siblings, extended family of the fallen officer. Just the thing just to kind of keep in mind as we go through this, as you're contacted, as you probably many of you already have been contacted because there's been a suicide of an officer in your area. Keep in mind that this retreat is open to suicide survivors. So sometimes when you don't know necessarily what you can offer them, obviously offer them a conversation with Shelley and Lori about benefits. And even if that family elects to not pursue the benefits, we offer the suicide retreats in conjunction with survivors of blue suicide. So whether they take the route of going to apply for public safety officer benefits or if they do not, they still are welcome at this retreat. So make sure you're able to offer that to them. There's the 2 retreats we offer, one in the summer and one in the fall. There's more details about that obviously on our website. But as we go through that and as you start to have survivors that are survivors of suicide that are becoming C.O.P.S members, keep in mind that those members are full members of C.O.P.S. So anything that you offer for your traditional survivors that you've offered just for, as long as you've been around, those that have been approved through PSOB are also offered those same benefits of being in C.O.P.S. So just something to keep in mind. And if you ever have questions about that, we know that this is new and it's sometimes confusing. So please reach out to us. We'll be happy to answer your questions or help talk you through that, especially if you feel like you don't know what to say. And that might be something to think about as you go forward and you're doing succession planning with your chapters. Maybe it would be helpful to have a trustee or a board member or somebody on your board that is from a family where the officer died by suicide. So you do have that peer support available when there's outreach. Just something to consider as you make your chapters as well-rounded as you can. Moving on to extended family retreat, we had 24 attendees this year. They had a wonderful time in Potosi. And then our parents retreat, which we held in Arkansas, 190 attendees this year. That was a very large parents retreat this year, but I'm happy to say that all of our programs for this year are now concluded. And I think we had some pretty good results in the feedback that we got from the retreats, especially the ones that we moved to Colorado has been pretty positive. We are always looking for your feedback. So if you ever have anything you want to share with us about hands-on programs, things you want us to do different, or other suggestions, please let us know. Okay, C.O.P.S Walk. We held the C.O.P.S Walk since we last talked too, and this one was in Harpers Ferry, West Virginia. It was 18 walkers, $46,000 raised before we take the costs out of that. It was our 19th year of this C.O.P.S Walk. Next year is the 20th anniversary of this C.O.P.S Walk. We've had some discussions on the board about event-based fundraising and how sometimes when we have staff that spend so much time planning events that time maybe could be more lucrative as far as bringing in dollars by pursuing grant opportunities or partnerships with corporations and less time consuming. Sometimes our events take time away from other fundraising we can do. Now, with that said, our C.O.P.S walks are super important to us. And I know there are a lot of benefit for the survivors that go and walk them. One of the things that we've talked about doing going forward is combining our C.O.P.S walks into one. We won't do that for next year. I know next year is the 20th anniversary, so we're going to definitely try to really celebrate that at Harpers Ferry. But going forward from there, it might be something that we talk about doing. But we're interested in your input. So if you have any thoughts on that, please share that back with us as we talk about how best to utilize the staff we have without having to add additional staff if we can avoid it. National conference has also been held since we talked last. We had 813 attendees. We were in Orlando. We added a 5K in the middle of our conference this year. We had quite a few that participated in that. I said overall, I feel like that conference in its ninth year this year. I think it's done real well. Next year, we announced at the conference we're going to be in New Orleans. So that conference will be in New Orleans and will be held in conjunction with the Survive to Thrive conference that we have for our law enforcement survivors. So just to kind of explain how that will work, we'll have half the hotel will be assigned for law enforcement conference, the other half for our survivors conference. And there'll be a couple different touch points where the conferences are combined for things like merchandise store and registration, which will help save us in our costs. But overall, we're still going to have the feel of the law enforcement conference on one side, and we're definitely going to have the Survive to Thrive feel on the other part of the conference. So we're kind of excited to see what that's going to look like going forward, but it's definitely going to be a challenge, or something we're really looking forward to. National Police Week is about to open. I know we're going to spend a lot of time talking about that on this actual training, so I won't get into a whole lot of that, but we do expect that to open prior to Christmas this year or prior to the holidays. Early December, we'll be seeing that. Lori's going to talk about that for you, but we will be sending out the invitation. It will go out to the families and coworkers of those that we know about that are being honored in 2025. Obviously, we still have 2 official names meetings between now and then. We'll have one in December. We had one today. We'll have one in December and one in January. And then we have one in February. We try to only add those officers that we lost in the late months of 2024. So if you know of an officer that has passed away in your area and you don't see them on the official roll call of heroes yet, please reach out to Lori and help us get the information that we need in order to make sure those families get honored. Those families get to go and honor their officer in May of 2025. We're still missing information on about 60 or 70 officers that we need the information on in order to get them approved. Hands-on program dates for 2025 are set. These are all on our website. You obviously can also look at them here. We are planning on going back to Colorado for siblings and spouses next year. Those are the only, we actually are not moving any retreats in 2025. What you saw in 2024 is what you'll see in 2025 as far as locations go. Things to note, Outward Bound is still to be determined. We experienced an extraordinary expense increase from 2019 when we used to host Outward Bound to 2024 when we just hosted it. We also saw our numbers drop in that we filled up with survivors that wanted to attend, so we filled up our number that we could attend that. And then the last minute we had several, like, close to 10 survivors that at the last minute canceled. And so we had a lesser number at Outward Bound, and we don't really have a great way to prevent that from happening as the retreats, as you know, are all free. So that's something our board has been talking about. How do we prevent that? We certainly want to offer Outward Bound. We are limited in what we can do with that, and we do expect about at least $15,000 increase for next year for Outward Bound should we decide to host it next year. Some of the things that we're talking about is possibly hosting it every other year. We've talked about possibly, accepting a deposit of some sort that would be refunded to the survivor once they actually attend. So there's some incentive to, if you say you're going to go, you actually go, and we don't keep that spot from somebody else being able to go. That's an option. The other option we talked about is something where, much like C.O.P.S Walk, where the teen does some sort of project where they raise some money to go towards their Outward Bound experience. We've talked about all 3 of those right now. We haven't completely settled on what that's going to look like, but as of today, that Outward Bound is not set for next year. I think that's it on those. Trauma of the law enforcement trainings for 2025 are now listed on the website. So all of them are set for next year. Something to keep in mind as we do our trainings, when we bring a training to your area, it is a training that we do the same training, sometimes with different players, but the same training at each area. So there isn't a whole lot of flexibility in that curriculum to change it up and, bring in a bunch of extra speakers or do stuff like that. There's not a lot of flexibility in that. And part of that is because we get the curriculum approved for post credit or continuing education credits for the officers that attend. So we have to have a set curriculum. When we're bringing this to your area, something that we like to do is we like to talk to the chapters about opportunities for perhaps providing coffee or a meal, or if you know of any partners that might be willing to do some of that. We don't have to do that at all our trainings. If we are able to do it, it's kind of nice, but it's not a have to do. So I don't want anybody to feel pressure from that. We also try to pull survivors to do the survivor panel part of that training from that local area as much as we can. But also keep in mind that when we're looking for a survivor panel, we're looking for very specific things to make sure that we're showing a really well-rounded panel. So we do reserve the right to choose those survivors, but we want your input. So if you know of people that would be really good to do that, we want to know that from you. But at the same time, like we can't take a whole panel of adult children or a whole panel of spouses. We need to make sure we're putting different perspectives in there. And it's also helpful to have survivors that some of them are more current and some are from years past. We don't want to have all from way years past and all real current. We want to make sure we have a mixture of that. So we're looking for different things in that. Law Enforcement Appreciation Day is coming up January 9th. That's going to be here before we know it. I can't wait to see all the pictures, as we always do every January 9th of not only our chapters, our national, and just partners and just people out in the general public that are supporting police officers on January 9th. It's really fun to see how viral this event has grown to. I don't know if everybody on this call knows it. If you're a newer survivor, you may not. But this event started in the C.O.P.S office many years ago, and it occurred after we'd had a national event that had drawn a lot of criticism on law enforcement from in the community, and a lot of survivors called our office and wanted to know what can we do to show our support for law enforcement. And so this began as just an idea in the office. We enlisted our partners from all the different law enforcement organizations and our chapters. And from that, it's grown into what it is today. So I thank you for that. I also can't wait to see what you all decide to do for lead day. And obviously the blue blood drives is something that we've added since the creation of lead day. And it's really fun to see what our membership can do as far as supporting the greater community. And by hosting these blood drives, it's just another way to get a word out of what we do and who we are. It's a great awareness tool. So if you are doing a blood drive, absolutely let Stephanie know that you're doing one. I hope that you are, and let her know so we can make sure we record that. Okay, staff updates. So since we last talked, a couple things have happened in our staff. Michelle Fagerstone, our development director, has exited our C.O.P.S staff. She's not with us anymore. This past week, we've been making some like restructuring and trying to figure out how best to meet all the obligations that the C.O.P.S have without trying to add additional staff. Right now the economy is not great. Donations are fairly flat. We're doing okay, but we're not certainly bringing in more money than we need. So we have made the decision, and we're excited that Sarah Sloan, who's been our communications director for many years, is now going to be our outreach director, and she's going to oversee both development, which is another word for fundraising, and communications. So she's going to have both tasks assigned under her. It's a bit of a promotion for her. And then underneath of her, we will also have Blake receiving a little bit of a promotion. Blake Haynes, for those of you who know him, he's been around for many years as well. And he has been our multimedia specialist for a number of years. And we're going to give him a bit of a challenge and make him the communications manager. So he will be overseeing a multimedia specialist and our website, and those of you who we work on your websites, he will be overseeing them. Most of you have probably heard, but if you have not, Tony Williams has also left C.O.P.S. He's went to go work. He was working remote for C.O.P.S after being in the office for a lot of years, and he's elected to go back and work in an office environment again after he had moved. He could no longer work here, although we tried for a couple of years, and he needs to work in an office environment. So he is going back to work in a county where he lives now, which is many states away from here. But we wish him the best. He's been wonderful for C.O.P.S, and gosh, we miss him every day. But we will be hiring somebody to do websites and your websites, ours, and the event apps that we use, the applications for our phones. We'll be hiring somebody to do that role at C.O.P.S. What's really good though is that we have done quite a bit of cross training. So if you have website needs today, that doesn't mean because Tony has left that we can't help you. Blake has a good understanding of websites and how to update those and even how to create them. Sarah has a pretty good understanding of it, and Robbie in our office does. So just because we've left somebody doesn't mean that we have slowed to a stop. We will still absolutely update your website as you need it to be updated. And that is a good reminder to you to make sure you update your website. It's really important that we're putting up-to-date meeting information on your websites, especially about elections, and then just what events you have out there. If you haven't updated your website in a long time, I suggest that you just go out there and look at it and see, because it's actually worse to have a website that hasn't been updated than not to have one at all. So make sure that if you haven't done that, that you look at your website and make sure it's up to date. Upcoming elections, Stephanie's gonna, I think, talk to you about this a little bit. But one of the things that we talked about on the board is that it's super important that we are announcing elections to our general membership and to all our chapter memberships. Stephanie has been, and Nikki have been emailing your chapter leadership for a period of time, asking for dates for your business meeting prior to your election meeting, and then the dates of your annual meeting. We want to make sure that those are posted on our national website. And then if we're managing your chapter website, we want to make sure they're on there as well. So please don't ignore her emails when she sends it to you. Please actually make sure that you send in the dates that you have and the locations for those meetings. And that's just a good reminder to you right now that if you have not yet set those, that's kind of important. You need to get that set because people need to know. You're required to announce meetings 30 days prior to the actual meeting in order for it to be an official meeting. And people need to know that for planning purposes. So if you haven't done that yet, I would put that down on your list of things to do. I know many of you may have questions about the chapter training that we did in September, where we put out some proposed bylaw changes for the chapter bylaws. Those are still being considered. Thank you for all of you who provided input. There was great input that came back in that went to our bylaws committee. They have sorted through that and they have forwarded that to our national board, and we will be having a meeting next week actually to discuss your input on that. And you should be seeing something coming out from us very soon on the direction of where we're going with those bylaws. So thank you very much for those of you who have responded to that and provided input on that. More to come. And then just some reminders from last time we met. We are now available to you if you need to have chapter shirts made or something like that. We have a new machine in our office that can actually make customized shirts. It's pretty cool. It's very large. Our staff is very talented in using it. I couldn't begin to, even I look at it and I get a little stressed out, but they know what they're doing with it. So if you would want any shirts made, we hope that we can do this in a way that is a little bit cheaper for you. And you guys have an opportunity to have shirts made without having to do a lot of design work on that. We'll come up with, I think we have one right now, but we'll come up with multiple designs that you can choose from. Obviously, we're not telling you you have to get your shirts from us or merchandise from us. This is just one more thing that we want to offer to you to make it easier. We know it's not easy to run a chapter. Holiday ornaments. Okay, so they're in. I had the opportunity to show them off here. So I'll put it up here. They actually just came in the office. There was a misprint on the first one. They put the wrong logo on it. So they are a little bit late getting here, but our staff is already to work engraving these for the ones that have been pre-purchased. Bethany Logsdon, adult child, and her daughter Aubrey, so the grandchild, were the ones that designed this. So we're very excited. They're really cool ornaments this time. We like them. So we're working to get those engraved. So if you've ordered them already, please know that they will be on the way. And the memorial flags. So these are here too. These are being graded every day in our office. Just know that they're here. You can get them shipped to you now if you want, or you can have them displayed at National Police Week. It's really up to you how you want to do it. I do know that at National Police Week last year, that was kind of a highlight for a lot of survivors. We saw survivors spending some time down in the ballroom, finding their officer's flag and just having a place at the host hotel to reflect. I think it was just a really good, it was a really good thing to have, a little good addition to National Police Week. So we're going to be doing that again. And we get that flags don't cost $100, and that's a lot of money, but please know that that's also a donation to C.O.P.S. so we can do what we do, because it's expensive and everything is getting more and more expensive every day. So we're always looking for ways to raise dollars. Speaking of that, C.O.P.S Walk C.O.P.S Walk Southwest is coming up in February in Arizona. It's warm in Arizona in February, which is kind of fun. We hope that you'll come walk with us, or you'll spread the message about coming to walk with us. It's 25 miles in 2 days, but I can tell you if that's intimidating to you, that you don't have to walk all of it. You can walk as much as you want on each day, and the staff is there to help you. We won't leave you on a trail somewhere or out in the neighborhood. We'll get you back to the hotel. But if you could help us push that, it would be awesome to see that just grow. What's really neat, and thank you, a big shout out to Arizona C.O.P.S. What's really great is just the amount of local support we get for that C.O.P.S. walk. It's really fun to see the community, the law enforcement community come out and support that walk. So I hope to see you there. And that's it. That's my news from nationals. We're looking forward to another 40 years of rebuilding shattered lives with you. And as Connie said um, in her introduction here, is that we know we couldn't do what we do without you. You are a huge part of everything that we do, and it doesn't fall short on us. We recognize that it is a volunteer thing that you're doing, and it's a lot. And I just want to tell you how much that you are appreciated. And I don't know if there's any questions in the chat or anything, Lori, that I need to answer. If so, I'll try.
Yes, there was a question from Cindy. Is the concern about cost the factor that is keeping Outward Bound from being scheduled right now?
So what was keeping it from being scheduled right now is that we needed to meet as a board and talk about it. Because we saw more than basically it doubled plus about $20,000, the cost of Outward Bound from 2019 to 2024. To put that in perspective, it's about $3,500 per child to attend Outward Bound at this point. I guess they're not child, they're teens. But it's about $3,500 with an expected $15,000 increase for the next year. So there's a couple things we had to look at. One is cost. Do we want to continue to do it at that cost per survivor? It will be upwards of closer to $5,000 per survivor. I'm not saying it's not worth it. I know that it is, but we have to come up with those dollars. The second piece we have to look at then is how do we keep from committing a number of kids to go to Outward Bound and then having kids at the last minute drop out and say they're not going to go and it's usually too late to fill somebody else in. And we have to combat that problem because we literally went from like about 28 kids going to 18 kids going at the last minute. So that's a bit of an issue. So that's what we're looking at. No decisions have been made yet, but the cost is a big factor in Outward Bound. Great question.
Let's see. I think that was the only question. Joanne, I'm going to answer who you can contact for that, and that's it.
I see on here that Bev Fuller says the dates are wrong for C.O.P.S Walk Southwest. Oh gosh, I hate that if we did that. Can we have somebody behind the scenes verify our dates and just put that out in the chat, the actual dates, if we've got it wrong on the PowerPoint? My apologies if we did that. Sorry.
I just put it in the chat. It's February 21st through the 23rd.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Didn't mean to confuse anybody.
No worry. All right. Well, we'll turn it to Nikki. Thanks, Diane.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, so now it's time for a drawing, and today the prizes for the drawings are these hummingbird customized knives. And the first winner of the night is going to be David Johnson. So David, if you're on here, we will be getting in contact with you to see if you would like your knife customized. And now I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie to talk about chapter election reminders.
All right, thank you, Nikki. Hang on just a second. Let me see if I can get my share screen up here. All right. There we go. Hopefully you're seeing a graphic with 6 circles on it.
We are.
Okay, good deal. All right, Diane made mention of some of this information, but I'm going to kind of review and expand on it a little bit. The first step in the chapter meetings, and what we're talking about here, is the business meeting prior to your annual meeting and the annual meeting itself. So the first thing you're going to want to do is to set the date, time, and location for both of those meetings. And remember that the annual meeting must be in March and is mandatory for all chapters, regardless if you're having an election that year. We do have some chapters that are on 2-year terms and only have an election every other year. So even if that's the case with your chapter, we want you to go ahead and have that annual meeting in March. That is a requirement. Next, we want you to share those dates with national COPS. I believe that Nikki sent out an email recently asking about these dates. And there is mention in the SOPs, I believe it is, about getting the dates for the business meeting prior to your annual meeting to the NCL at least 45 days in advance. And then the same with the annual meeting. We need to be notified of the date of that at least 45 days in advance of your election. So those dates are fast approaching. Be aware of those and keep on top of it, please, and let us know. And remember, as she mentioned, you have to have at least a 30-day notice before each meeting. And that notice needs to be sent out to your membership via email or mail. Another important factor to consider is that anyone wishing to be nominated for an elected office must be present at that business meeting prior to the annual meeting. And by present, there's some parameters in the rules that get a little bit more into that. Present could be in person or via Zoom. So I'm not going to go into all that right now, but everybody I think is pretty familiar with the new rules since COVID came along and how we've incorporated Zoom and other platforms into our communications. So, and the last step on this is going to be to follow up. I think in particular when it comes to situations where you're trying to find a candidate for a certain position and somebody says, oh, Mary Ann said that she might be interested in that. Please follow up with Mary Ann by all means, because we get down to the wire sometimes and we don't have candidates, and that can cause a slew of other problems. So follow up on these things. People that express interest, follow up with them and let them know what they need to do, where they need to be, and so forth. And we sure appreciate that. The next slide here. Whoops, can't get it to go down there. There we go. This graphic shows which chapters in each region are due for elections this coming March. So take a look at that graphic there for a little bit and see if you can locate your chapter. And we've got them all broke down by regions in there so that you know that you're definitely going to be having an election this coming March, and plan ahead. For goodness sakes, do plan ahead on that. All right, and I'm sure I'll be sending out some other reminders as we go forward towards election season to make sure everybody's kind of on track on that and aware of what's going on and staying on top of it. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. All right. And I believe we're going back to Nikki now. Thank you, Nikki.
And so we have another drawing for the customized knife. And the second winner, Joanne Minion. Congratulations, Joanne. I will be reaching out to you to see if you would like your knife customized.
Congrats, Joanne. All right, I'm going to share my screen because I am going to be talking about National Police Week today. My favorite topic, my favorite event to start planning at C.O.P.S. So, roll call of heroes, like Diane said, honoree lists will be sent following today's meeting. So we did have a names committee meeting this morning, and we're working on getting that information up to date. And then we'll be able to post it on the website and get it out to our chapters. With that, I will be contacting some of you about the delayed section and some of the information we're not receiving. So I will be in touch. I always love to throw the event schedule slide on here, even though we know the dates always stay the same. The days of the week change, but we're going to do early arrival day. LEU arrival and Police Unity Tour arrival will be on May 12th. Candlelight Vigil on the 13th, and then our C.O.P.S events on May 14th, which includes our Blue Honor Gala on the night of May 14th. The 15th, National Peace Officers Memorial Service. We do have the FOP auxiliary with you today after me to kind of talk about that service. And then May 16th, some more C.O.P.S events and our Blue Family Barbecue with departure date on the 17th. I want to talk just a little bit about kids, teens, and daycare. The Kids Teens program are for surviving children, stepchildren, and siblings of the fallen officers, grades kindergarten through 12th. And daycare is for surviving children, stepchildren, siblings, nieces, and nephews of the fallen officers, ages infant to 6, can attend while their parents are at the conference. Blue Honor Gala will be at the Washington Hilton on the night of the 14th at 6. Ticket prices are $135 per ticket or $1,300 for a table of 10. It's an awesome night. So please come join us. You can purchase tickets right now by emailing cops_development@nationalcops. And we will have some information on the website, which I'm going to go over with you today. 3 official hotels for National Police Week 2025. We have the Washington Hilton will be our host hotel. The Churchill, which is located directly across the street from the Washington Hilton, and then the Omni Shoreham, which is located a little less than a mile from the host hotel. These are the prices per night with tax included in that, but you always want to factor in maybe a few more dollars per night for tax and fees and things like that. So this is just a good rough number to give you guys here. $310 at the Hilton, $289 at the Churchill, and $299 at the Omni. Registration fees are the same. So $150 for an adult and $50 for a child. This includes breakfast, luncheons, Blue Family Barbecue, transportation. And our deadline for 2025 will be March 31st for hotel accommodations, and then we will keep registration open until April 25th for any surviving family or coworker that is coming to honor their fallen officer. So with that, I want to go back to maybe the event schedule, because I see Connie sent me a note. Chapter meet and greet on the 13th. So that was a good catch there, Connie, and adding that to the schedule. And more information will be coming for that. And then Mike put in the Churchill has a historical fee per night. So that's something, again, we don't want to say that this is the exact fees per night cost, because it's kind of impossible to get the exact tax rate. And parking is not included in the hotel fee. And if you know anything about Washington, D.C., they think a lot of their concrete. So you want to kind of budget maybe $35 to $40 a night for parking at the hotels. We do contract a reduced parking rate. Believe it or not, that is the reduced rate. So we also want to keep that in mind for budgets. Went through the deadline. So check-in at the hotel will be on the 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th. We do encourage survivors to get into the ballroom when they get there. So we'll be open 2 to 7 on the 11th, 9 to 6 on the 12th. The 13th from 8 to 3. And this is a day where we really have a hard close time of 3 o'clock, because busing will start to the Candlelight Vigil. So make sure you're telling your families to get in there by 3. And then the 14th for any last minute from 8 to noon. All attendees must be present at check-in to receive required credentials. So we will not be handing multiple name tags to people. This is a security risk for us, so we will be taking identification. We did last year, it worked out really great. So just tell your families, come prepared with your driver's license, not for kiddos, obviously if they're with their parent. But we will be not doing the multiple name tags to people, so we can get them checked in and get them all of the information they need, because as you guys know, it's a lot of information at check-in. I'm going to go over some terminology here. So survivors with additional needs, sometimes in the past, we've referred to or had this terminology floating out there about red flags. And we don't want to ever refer to someone in their family as being a problem. So something we like to talk with is care, and words do matter. Survivors with additional needs. So we know that families and family dynamics can be tough, and going into Police Week, I know this is something that we talk to our chapters about. So let's just be sensitive in the words that we're using for talking about families with additional needs. This is also the same wording that the FOP uses as well. So rooms for chapters. So Washington Hilton, we have our rooms. I'm working on the specific breakdown as we speak. Numbers in line of duty death for each chapter. So it'll be a minimum of 2 rooms per chapter. And I'm kind of working on a breakdown of honorees per chapter and per region, looking at that. So you'll receive that information from me. Probably by the end of the year. We're wanting to get registration up. We're aiming for the first week of December. Registration is still with the developer, still making some changes. So we're hopeful that the first week of December, we're going to meet that goal. And then you'll get that information from me. So how to register and what rooms are available for your chapters. But if you know of any needs that you have right now, please, as always, feel free to reach out to me, give me a call, or send me an email. I'll be happy to start a list. I do love my lists. And then your registration reports. So once registration opens, reports will be updated and scheduled to send weekly on Fridays until after Police Week. We can only set up reports when survivors from your region register. So we can't say, oh, we'll set up all the reports on the first week of December. So as somebody registers from that state, or from that region, then we can program your reports to start sending. And then also just to keep in mind that lists may not be completely current. Registrations come in faster than we can process them on our end. So we lag in time from the registration system, since the registration system is so quick and so user-friendly. But we do process them daily. So if you're looking for something specific, we want you to know that our team here is absolutely here to help you and make this process as easy for you and for our new families coming to Police Week. So this is our processing team. I have Erin Gisselbeck, who is part-time here at C.O.P.S. She works Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays. Perry Moody, who used to be Perry LaFrance, as you guys know, she got married. So Perry Moody. Myself and Alyssa Starnes. I will be handling specifically the chapter room, so I'll be working with you guys directly to make sure you have all the information you need in your rooming needs. And then any agencies or room blocks larger than 10, I like to handle that because I have a streamlined system that's pretty easy, and placement and all of those things. So those are the 2 specific things that I'll be working on for you guys to reach out. If you guys need anything, we will be reaching out to survivors. I know our team is in constant communication with you guys out there, and I just thank you for all that you guys do. And I know Police Week is a lot of information, and I know we'll have more to share in the upcoming weeks. So you'll probably be seeing my name popping up in your email more often. So I think I tried to answer the questions in the chat as I went, but if I missed anything, please send me a chat, or you can ask it in the Q&A feature, which there's 2. But David says, could phone numbers be included with the report this year? Absolutely, David. I will make a note right now to add phone numbers. And then Joanne, maybe too early to know, but will LEU be coming into the host hotel again? That may be a little too early to know, but that is what we are aiming for. So logistically, our National Police Week Planning Committee will start meeting after the holiday season and really start to be drilling down in how to make things work. Then that's for returning survivors. When will info go out to new survivors? Okay, so when will new info go out, or when will info go out to new survivors about MPW? So we are in the final stages of the National Police Week invitation, and we will be mailing those from our office to those families as soon as they get here. So we will start in December, but we will be cautious of the holidays and then really start pushing them out again in January. It just all depends on when they get here, but we will be sending it out via email, and that will be going to all survivors, all of our contacts in our database and on our list, anybody that signed up. So we will be sending that out via email and getting the website updated a lot over the next couple of weeks. So like I said, I'll be in touch, but I encourage you to reach out to me with any questions or anybody here on the screen. We're absolutely happy to help you with that. And what if somebody doesn't have an email? If someone does not have an email with us, we have pretty much gone to not mailing a ton of items over the past years, but we will have that information available on our website at ease, and we'll be putting it on social media. And if someone requests it from us, like someone calls in, we do have a couple of survivors that will call in and say, hey, can you mail that to me? We're happy to stick it in the mail for those situations. And I think that wraps up the questions. Oh, sorry, Betty. I thought you were Julie. All right. Well, I will now turn it over to, we have two great women here from the Fraternal Order of Police and its auxiliary to talk about the May 15th service. So I will turn it over to either Julie or Glenda.
Hello, this is Glenda, and I'm not really sure why, but it's not letting the picture come up, even though the camera is on, so I do apologize for that. But I do want to thank you all for allowing us to join today and be able to talk a little bit about the criteria associated with how members are identified on participating in the May 15th service. My name is Glenda Lehman. While I have met some of you, I have not met everyone. So I'm the national president with the Fraternal Order of Police Auxiliary. And with me today is Julie Black. And Julie is our National Sergeant at Arms, but she's also the chair of our National Peace Officers Memorial Committee. And so today she's really just going to share some basic information on what it means to meet the criteria for what we consider as participating. So those survivors who will actually be participating on May 15th by walking to the wreath, but also participating by going to the medals tables and receiving the actual medals and the medallions. And so I'm going to turn that over to her, and she's going to walk through the service, and throughout that presentation, if there's questions, we'll be able to answer those as well. So again, thank you. And Julie, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hello, everybody. But I am going to need help. Do you see our presentation?
No, you can hit the green share button if you pull it up on like your computer screen. And then hit your share button. It's the green button. And then it should pop up and show you your screens.
Yeah, I probably got 15 million, don't I?
Yeah, there you go.
Does that look right?
Well,
Start your slideshow.
Can you, yeah, start slideshow.
Does it look funky now? I've never done this part.
It's okay, Julie. We've got your back. I think, is it do you have two screens going right now by chance?
Maybe.
So it's probably popping up on the other screen. So if you hit share and then share the screen that it's start, but this is fine. I mean, we can see it if you can't get the other one to show, the slideshow.
Is it better?
No, now it went back to you.
Dang it, sorry.
It's okay. We're with our people.
Ah.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Rob's not helping me either. All
Hi,
right.
Rob. Okay.
All right, as we Glenda and Lori mentioned, we are here to share a little bit of information about the FOP and the National Memorial Service that happens on May 15th. There's Glenda's picture. And again, many of you know me. I am both from Indiana. I'm the C.O.P.S Vice President for our state of Indiana, and also I am with the National Fraternal Order of Police Auxiliary. So basically, we just want to share some information, and we're going to start with the criteria for inclusion for the fallen officers as it pertains to the FOP. So most importantly, officers killed in line of duty must be duly sworn, have full arrest powers. Officers who died in the line of duty from the previous year, with the exception that we do line of duty deaths occurring in the prior 5 years when the incident information was not received to allow honoring in the appropriate year. With that, we also will always honor hometown heroes, 9/11, our COVID-19, and our suicide. So these are a few of the organizations that we partner with. We partner with C.O.P.S mainly all year round to ensure that everything we do for Police Week is accurate. We all have the same information, but there are several other partners that we do as far as the buses, the motorcycle officers, the security, Homeland Security, Secret Service, Capitol Police. Just a lot of things happen for Police Week to happen for the FOP and May 15th service. But we do appreciate the support, the relationship that we have with C.O.P.S and all of you that make Police Week happen. And please, if I go too fast or don't understand, please do your chat so and I will answer any questions at the end. So our memorial service committee runs around in purple shirts. That's how we kind of like to, we've chosen that color so that you as C.O.P.S representatives know who we are. And if you have any questions about May 15th while we're in the ballroom or just anywhere out and about, please make sure you just stop one of us and ask us questions, and we will help you for the best that we can with your questions. This is our picture of our National Executive Board. And of course, we're just like C.O.P.S. We're from one side of the country to the other. We have New Mexico, we have Kentucky, we got Indiana, Utah, Ohio, all over the across the U.S. The Executive National Board from this has our own command center at our hotel. We've been using the Homewood Suites in Noma, which is about 5 to 6 miles away from Hilton, but getting there is a whole lot more. Sometimes it takes us 20 minutes, sometimes it takes us 40 minutes, but it does work out for the auxiliary. This is our command center, is where we have our office, and also we do, when we receive the medal Supreme Sacrifice, we use a room there to make sure that there's no misspellings, and we polish them so that when we give them to the families, they are in perfect condition. And again, you'll see us running around the C.O.P.S host hotel during Police Week, assisting with registration, survivor briefing, and also the portraits that we give out to the family members. So May 15th is always our National Peace Officers Memorial Service. It will start at 12 o'clock noon. We do suggest that everyone pack snacks, make sure everyone has any sort of medications that they need. And of course, one of the biggest thing is just plan accordingly for the weather. We've had, needed the sunscreen, we've needed jackets, we've needed almost winter coats at times, ponchos, and just know and remember that if you bring umbrellas, they can't be golf size, they have to be 36 inches or smaller. And then, of course, if you are bringing if our survivors have any kind of infants, make sure that they pack everything they need for their infants as well, bottles, diapers, etc. And we also, I don't know if many of you know, but we do have those medical tents, and we also have tents that are for infants in case a baby is having a hard time, or if the spouse needs to get up and let the smaller kids have a break, or if somebody needs fed or whatever, we have those kind of tents set up at the memorial service. This says the service lasts between 3 and 4 hours, but we will say that we have streamlined our service, and it's usually now probably, I think we got done in 2.5 hours last year because we had lower numbers. So the length of the service really depends on how many officers that we do honor. So now we're going to go through some of our terminology. And we're going to start with participating family members. So those participating family members include the spouse of the fallen officer, the children of the fallen officer, including stepchildren. They are included in our participating family. The parents, of course, including the steps, the brothers and sisters of the fallen officer, including step brothers and sisters. These are the only members of the family that will participate in the memorial service where they place the flowers. And of course, due to heightened security, and we know that we will have even more demands from Secret Service with the election that just happened. And unfortunately, we will not be able to permit or add any additional family members who do not meet this participating family criteria. So all participating family members must report to the Hilton Ballroom by the designated time the morning of the May 15th. We encourage them to come early. We have yet not we haven't started planning for May 15th as of yet, but we will start doing that come January. So we do encourage them to come early so that we can get them all arranged and seated and get them as comfortable as possible before we start loading the buses. We do share that everyone needs to be prepared to go through the magnetometers before entering the ballroom. We will have volunteers and signs throughout the Hilton Hotel to direct those participating in the services to get them to the Columbia Ballroom. Participating family members staying at the overflow hotels will have designated times to board buses to come to the Hilton. We just need to make sure that everyone knows that there's only going to be one trip to Washington Hilton and one trip down to the Capitol. So if anybody misses a time or doesn't get in line to get on the buses when they were supposed to, they will have to make alternative plans for getting to the down to the Capitol. And again, if survivors are not staying at a C.O.P.S hotel, then they must provide their own transportation to get to the Hilton. We talked about the participating, and now we're going to talk about the extended family members. Those extended or non-participating family members include the aunts, the uncles, grandparents, cousins, in-laws, friends, coworkers, and all the etc. This group does not participate in the placement of the flower in the memorial wreath. However, this group will be seated near their participating family members in an area reserved specifically for them so that they can see their family members place the flower in the wreath. The extended family members, all hotels will have buses marked and designated to take the extended family members to the Capitol. The biggest thing that we need to encourage and remind all the survivors is please do not forget your credentials. It is required to load all the buses and to enter on the memorial site. Buses are only making the first and only trip. There's no alternate plans to getting late arrivals to the Capitol. The primary survivor places the flower in the memorial wreath at the memorial service. In most families, the spouse of the fallen officer is what we consider the primary survivor. If there is no spouse, then an adult child of the fallen officer will serve as the primary survivor. And then if there's no children, then in the absence of an adult child, the mother will then serve as the primary survivor. And I'm going to grab a drink real fast.
Well, while you're grabbing a drink, can I ask you a question that's in the chat? Someone asked, where does fiance fit into, I think it was your previous screen.
So again, we all know how dynamics it would, if those are done by case. So if we would encourage those families to come to the auxiliary table in the ballroom, and so we can talk to each one of those on an individual basis. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay. All right. If the primary survivor, they have I lost my word. If the primary survivor doesn't want to place a flower, they may absolutely designate another participating family member to place that flower in the wreath. The person designated to place the flower in the wreath is the sole decision of the primary survivor. The primary survivor must notify the FOP auxiliary at registration or at the conclusion of the survivor briefing if they wish to designate another family member. It does happen, but for the majority, most of it is always the primary survivor who places that flower. We will never not let it, if the primary survivor wants to take the children up there, as we've always seen, that's totally okay with us. Totally up to the primary survivor and what that person wants to do. The other thing we want to make sure is the escort officers. We only can have one escort officer escort the family on May 15th. The memorial service, the escort officer is recommended to wear a Class A uniform. They should have their department issued identification card. The National Auxiliary will conduct a brief presentation for those escorting the families participating in the service during registration. Of course, the times and dates will be distributed after the first of the year, and the escort officers are required, and we strongly encourage them to attend one of these briefings. This is just a quick what to expect the morning of the memorial service. And this is what it kind of looks like when there is nobody sitting in those white chairs. So everybody that comes to the May 15th service must go through some sort of security and mactometers prior to entering either the ballroom or down on the site. If they are in the ballroom, once they get in the ballroom, they cannot leave the ballroom until their bus is ready to board. We strongly encourage that limited articles, especially going through the security, the less you have, the faster the security will go. Please listen closely to all the volunteers that they will be directing the families to their assigned buses. Once they load a bus, they cannot get off the bus. There is no exception to this. And once everybody is on the bus, it is a secured package and therefore no one can get off. Once the buses start rolling from the Hilton down to Capitol, we will not stop. There's no stopping until we arrive at the Capitol. The survivors will be arranged numerically within the state, starting with Alabama. These numbers are found on the C.O.P.S name tag. Again, volunteers will be stationed throughout the hotel to assist in getting survivors to the ballroom. And we just need to make sure that we keep all the family members together and in numerical order. Any non-participating family members should not be in the Hilton Hotel ballroom. They need to have been on the non-participating buses going down to the Capitol prior to the participating family members getting on the buses. So we do provide a bagged breakfast for all the participating family members. It's a very small bagel with some fruit, with orange juice or water, depending on what the continental breakfast provides for us. We need to make sure that everybody has their name badges. Cameras, pictures are definitely okay. Take pictures, pictures of the families at the wreath. If you have the medicine, make sure you remember to make sure your survivors bring the medicine with them. Again, we have medical tents on both sides of the Capitol in case we do need to have someone get medical attention. Everybody that rides a bus down to the Capitol does not ride the same bus back. So we need to make sure that all their belongings are with them when they leave the bus. We all know that water is provided on site, and all the officers wearing a weapon in uniform must have a current photo ID and department credential. And please remind your survivors that we will be walking on grass, and they need to keep that in consideration when they choose their shoes. This is just a picture of our Capitol as it is on the morning of the 15th. So once we're down there, we start the roll call of officers. Volunteers will instruct the survivors to all stand and move to the center aisle to begin the roll call. We ask again that they place all their belongings under their chair so that the path is clear for the families exiting the rows. Primary survivors will then be given a carnation, and at this time, the escort and participating family members will walk to the wreath. I apologize for that. After they place the flower in the wreath, they will then be escorted to the FOP Auxiliary Executive Board for the presentation of the Supreme Sacrifice medals. And after that medal presentation, the family will then be escorted back to their seats. We always encourage the survivors to come to the tables to make sure that if they have an unusual last name, that we want to ensure as well that we pronounce the officer's name correctly. So we have the names readers that do our roll call in the ballroom. So please make sure if you guys have any unusual family members or last names that you'll make sure that they get to us so that we can make sure that they are pronounced correctly. At the conclusion of the service, buses will return all the survivors to the C.O.P.S hotels. Buses will also be designated to go to the National Law Enforcement Memorial Wall for the laying of the wreaths. And there will be placards in the buses to designate if they're going back to hotels or to the memorial wall. After the memorial service is over, the wreath laying ceremony will be held at the conclusion of the memorial service at the wall. Everyone is invited to attend, and the transportation will be available to the wall back to their hotels. So that is our presentation. I hope I did okay. This makes me nervous and I hate to talk to people.
You're with your family. You do have some questions if I can ask them to you. One is about surviving fiance is not considered participating unless the family agrees to allow them with participating family members.
That is correct.
And then the other question was, if survivors want an escort who is not a police officer, is that acceptable?
I'm sure it is. We're not going to say no. I think,
Right.
and we do have, we have come across where the relationship between the department and the survivors, we all know that, you know, they want somebody else or a friend of his that they were close with that don't work the same department. So we work around that.
You guys are great. Melissa said, Julie, you did awesome. Thank you for the information. This is a judgment-free zone, and she is right. So we understand technology and talking in front of a crowd. So thank you.
No, thank you guys.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to Nikki and Stephanie.
Okay, and so for our last drawing, the winner
I
is
think we need a drum roll.
Tamiko Fields. Congratulations, Tamiko. I will be reaching out to you to see if you would like your hummingbird knife engraved.
Awesome. All right, well, we've got a little extra time. If you guys have any questions for us about anything, you can put it in the chat or you can ask the question. And if not, we will let y'all go today. We thank you so much. I know there's a lot of holidays coming up, and we wish you a happy holiday season, and we'll wait a couple and see if you have any questions. Is the roll call of heroes on the C.O.P.S website? Not yet. So I'm going to run some lists after today's meetings. We're working on getting that updated, and it will go on the website and be sent out to all chapter representatives probably a little later this week when we get an opportunity to get it updated. Good question, Betty, acting as Julie. Lynn Perry asked a question about a parole officer considered a duly sworn officer, and that answer is something we get. Well, it's a question we get often about officers being sworn and are they covered, and there's different criteria for different entities, and this is just honestly a case-by-case answer. There are some parole officers that have different, it depends on the agency, it can depend on the state, it can depend on their job titles, like if they're correctional officer 1, 2, or 3, are they a parole officer? So we just always recommend, like if you're not sure, reaching out to us, because we also, can deep dive and answer the questions as well. Like when they come up for us, we oftentimes have the same question. And just always remember that different organizations have different criteria, and that C.O.P.S doesn't define line of duty death, that's for our criteria entities, and we lean into that. And I know that they're all different, so just continue to reach out on that case by case basis. Judith asked the question, why may we not have an appointed chapter director any longer? So I know that is discussed in the upcoming bylaw changes, and those are the comments that the national board will be reviewing next week. So we'll get some information out to you, but those comments are definitely included in those proposed changes. Any other questions? Thank you guys for the nice words and the happy holidays to everyone. We really appreciate you. I don't see any more questions coming in. So with that, we'll send you on a good day. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Julie, purple shirt.
All right, when you go to leave the Zoom, survey should pop up. We'd appreciate it if y'all would give us some feedback on that survey. And I want to wish you all a safe and happy holiday season. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate your time and everything that you do.
Thanks. Hi to Rob.